Look towards the future. Get the latest on free agent signings, trades, the front office, and the fans. It's Hot Stove Weekly with Tommy Wirtz. Here's the franchise Tim Allen.
It is a final, sort of, the offseason. We're getting you ready for the 2026 championship season. Welcome in, everybody. It is Hot Stove Weekly here at the new home. Tommy Wirtz is right there. My name is Tim Allen. Welcome in, Tommy. Some Brewers baseball conversation. Oh, plenty tonight.
Oh, I can't wait. Timmy, we get to do it together finally here. The show, it's all there. Look at that. I mean, we were on the phone for, an hour or so yesterday?
Yep.
And then by the end of it, we hung up, and then I called you back immediately. I was like, oh, yeah, listen to Pat Murphy, too. We didn't even talk Brewers. It felt like it was like an hour of just guys being dudes together there, Tim.
That's right. Now, you caught me eating a Hostess cupcake. Yeah. Well, two of them.
Yeah,
you had to have two.
Oh, don't they come in 2-packs?
They do still, yes.
Yes.
But I get them by the box.
Got it.
Here we go. We're going to talk some Brewers baseball, get into the nuts and bolts of things here, as we'll talk with the Brewers right-hander Quinn Priester here in just a couple of minutes. Tommy, looking forward to that. Also, next hour, we're going to chat with Caleb Durbin. I feel a little nervous about Caleb Durbin.
Oh,
I do. And I'll tell you why. Because I still think there's a shot they may grab another infielder, left side infielder. And so that may involve a one Joey Ortiz or the aforementioned Caleb Durbin. It's possible. Maybe a third baseman. We know it won't be Bregman.
right.
More on that in a little while, because the Cubs seem to have been improving things. And the Brewers, do they need to? Well, of course, you always should. But the foundation is there. And I'll just start out by saying that. The foundation of the Milwaukee Brewers' success is all intact. And we'll go over a little bit later on, Tommy, some of the arbitration agreements and the one case that may go to arbitration, but we'll see. William Contreras, we'll see.
Right. And that's really the biggest name from those arbitration numbers that we were looking back at. Brewers able to get a lot of deals done beforehand, but arbitration, it feels like you get PTSD talking about that every year with the Milwaukee Brewers, knowing at who has left because of these arbitration disputes, and do they want to be in the building every time they're talking about each other during that? It never feels like it goes well. But the Brewers team also feels like they're pretty geared up for catcher in the future too. So what happens from there? I do think it's interesting to go back on your Caleb Durbin take. You don't see a role for him at all?
Oh, I do.
This point?
I do. But just in case they make a trade or grab a third baseman, just a little nervous. I love Caleb Durbin. I think he's a hustler and a go-getter. And you know, the success was there, and the clutch DNA in him was there. And that's what you like, more importantly, is when he gets the bat rolling. I was watching MLB Network had win number 14 in a row.
Yeah.
On, what was it, yesterday or the day before? And Caleb homered in that game. I believe he went back-to-back with maybe Sir Isaac, possibly, but we'll talk to Caleb Durbin next hour. So just to get our feet wet here, I'm really grateful to be over here back at the original home of the post-game show and this show, Hot Stove Weekly. We started this, Sparky and I started this Hot Stove Weekly, oh my gosh, way too long ago. That means we're getting old. But I'm happy to be back. I'm happy to be working with you, Tommy, because I will say this. I don't think maybe the statute of limitations has run out on this, but I listened to your pregame show, rather than the station I was working at's pregame show. And no knock on the talent over there. I just loved what you were doing with the pregame. I'm looking forward to that again this year for the 26 championship season. So, Tommy, you're going to be on pregame duties. We'll both be on postgame duties, and a few tricks up our sleeve here in the meantime as we lead up to this season. And I was listening to Pat Murphy this morning with Inside Wisconsin Sports, Trevor and Josh. And I loved what he said in terms of, what do you do now? he said, don't speculate on things. It's not a productive thing to do.
Right. Yeah. He is a very forward thinking man and a guy that you saw it last year a lot in his comments, right? It was always Sparky would always clamor that he's not giving his guys enough love, right? He doesn't go back and highlight a lot of things, but it was always about today, right? It was always about today with Pat Murphy. It was never about looking at what you did that was positive or looking ahead to see where you were going to be with this organization. It was always about do your job today. It was never about anywhere other than the moment for Pat Murphy. And really, with the two guys we got coming up here today, Quinn Priester in a little bit now, and Caleb Durbin as well in the next hour, I think both those guys really embodied that last season. And that was something that Pat Murphy was trying to drill with everyone in that clubhouse.
Yeah.
And two guys like Caleb Durbin and Quinn Priester got that done quite often when you talked about today with that Brewers team.
So this is the new home for the new old home for the post-game show. We're really excited to get going here. We'll have this show, Hot Stove Weekly, each and every Wednesday from 5 o'clock until 7 p.m. Stay up to speed on what the Brewers have done. We'll get you up to speed on what the Brewers have done or haven't done. The one trade there that was interesting, Sir Isaac Collins and Nick Mears go to Kansas City for – now, how are you pronouncing Zerpa's name? Is it Serpa?
Zerpa. Yep.
Okay.
Angel
Zerpa.
Mm-hmm.
Left-handed, looks to be a starter. Matt Arnold had said, let's not discount a starting spot for him.
Well, especially with a team losing Quintana, right? You would think that's probably why they would like to find someone else at the back end of the rotation that can be from the southpaw side.
They sign Jake Bauers. He is back.
Yes.
And yeah, I like your Jake Bauers jersey. You had to take that Anthony Siegler jersey back, didn't you?
No, I was all in on Bauers. I mean, as foolish as it sounds, I've seen 9 jerseys from the front walking around, and I'm always like, is that a Jake? Oh no, Uke also had the jersey too. So I always get like a half excited when I see those jerseys walking around. Like, is that a Jake Bauers? Oh no, it's a Uke jersey.
It's not only some depth there for Bauers, but it's also defensive replacement. There is some spot starts in case of injury. Andrew Vaughn's going to be back, so we'll get you caught up on all of that. And again, we'll hopefully have time to take some phone calls as well. I'll get used to the phone numbers, I promise. I will get used to the taglines here, I promise.
Plenty of time.
We have plenty of time. Quinn Priester is going to join us next here. There's Tommy Wirtz, Tim Allen, Hot Stove Weekly here on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Welcome back, Talking Brewers Baseball. It's Hot Stove Weekly. We welcome you in, and there's Tommy Wirtz. My name is Tim Allen. 21 years kicks off tonight. 21st year of post-game coverage. Okay.
I mean, that's insane. Say it out loud like that. Does that not blow your mind every time? I get last year probably you were just finding yourself saying 20 and like that's crazy.
Right.
Still.
I used to like saying the longevity part of it. No, it's like, no, I want to be the youngest old dude around.
First year every year. 21st first year.
Gosh. Okay. So we grew up loving the Brewers. So we're fans first, then we're broadcasters second. Let's hit the Gruber Law guest hotline. And we welcome in Quinn Priester, the Brewers right-hander. We're talking Brewers baseball here. Thanks to Mike Vassallo and the Media Relations Department for lining things up. Quinn, how are you?
I'm good. How are you guys? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, way more important how you are. Now listen, what does one Quinn Priester do when it's the mid, because you're from the Midwest. We're trapped in a wintry nightmare here. It's January. There's no hope in sight. And what does Quinn Priester do these days?
So I'm from Northwest Chicago, about 45 minutes south of the Wisconsin border. And I ended up getting out of there a couple of years ago. I actually live down in Tampa. It gives me a better chance to be outside, enjoy the off season, outside, and then also throwing and getting prepared for the season just feels a little bit easier when you can get outside and long toss and be able to work out. And it's just been it's been a good move for us, and we like being down in the warmth. And like I said, I have escaped that brutal cold Midwest winter. I don't miss it. I miss the family that's up there. There's no doubt, but obviously now we get to stay connected a lot easier on the phone and FaceTimes and whatnot. So, it's been a pretty mild weathered winter, I'll be honest.
Yeah. How's the off season going so far, Quinn, with whatever you might be doing, whether it's long toss, throwing a little bit? How's the arm feeling so far? And you starting to get that itch? I mean, you got a report in just about a month or so here.
Yeah, a little less than a month for pitchers and catchers. So super excited, feeling great. Definitely, getting that itch. Like I was going to say, usually for me, it's right after Christmas. It starts to get to be that kind of lull in the winter where, you're kind of excited for the cold. And I know I'm in Florida, so that's not saying much. But we always go home to, my wife and I are both from the same area up there. So we always go home and try and get a white Christmas. So, you kind of get into that past December time where it's not as fun anymore, and I'm ready to play baseball. Yeah. So really excited, looking forward to report day.
So you mentioned Northwest Chicago. You're from Cary, right? Cary, Illinois, is that it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. My ex-wife is from Wonder Lake. You ever do any stomping in Wonder Lake?
I've heard of it. I'm sure I've been through it. But yeah, it's got to be around that area.
It is. And all right. So what clicked for you, Quinn, man? As you may have heard there on hold, we're big Brewers fans. I grew up a Brewer fan in the 70s. So I've been through all of it. But something clicked for you, and what do we attribute that to? Because man, when you're on, you're a ground ball machine, and to have that type of defense behind you, you got to be just smiling ear to ear. But with Hookie and the staff, what really clicked? Because you turned into a big time pitcher, Quinn.
Yeah, well, thank you. And I think it's a combination of everything that kind of makes the Brewers great. I think it's the defense that was behind me, being able to go onto the mound and chase the ground ball versus the swing and miss. I felt like that brought me into the zone a lot more. And I know, when things didn't go so well the first couple starts, a lot of that had to do with just not attacking the zone well enough. And then once I realized, holy cow, we got a great defense with Joey, Bryce, Perk, Churio, Sal, you can name everybody in that infield. Durbin, Siegs, William behind the plate. Like, you can literally name everybody in our lineup. It's like, holy cow, let's get the ball in play. Let's try and pitch 7 innings every time. And so I felt like that, was definitely the philosophy that, me, Hookie, Jim took into every game is we're not really going to chase a strikeout. We're just going to chase as many outs as we can get tonight. And certainly there were games where the strikeouts came, and then there were games, like you said, where it was, the majority of games, I should say, were more of, hey, let's get our ground balls. If we have a single here or there, let's get another ground ball. And with our defense, it's probably going to be 2 outs. So never lose faith in that ground ball. And then, this stuff's good enough to where when we get to 2 strikes, we can put guys away. And so once I think I started to think about, things early in counts, trying to get outs early in counts, I would kind of look up and be 1-2 or 0-2. And I'm like, oh, now I can kind of put them away versus, maybe a little bit earlier in the career, I was trying to chase some swing and miss. I was trying to throw the perfect pitch 0-0. Whereas, I felt like this year last year rather, I just really attacked hitters and was rewarded for it with our great defense.
Quinn Priester, Brewers pitcher, joining Hot Stove Weekly here. Tommy Wirtz, Tim Allen, of course, as well. The franchise back for his first day. Quinn, you brought up the names. Jim Henderson, Chris Hook, they get retained. Some get a promotion within the organization this year on the new coaching staff. How excited are you for year 2 with that relationship? And you credited them with year 1. What are some things that you really wanted to focus on heading into 2026 and year 2 with Milwaukee, specifically talked about maybe with Chris and with Jim?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is hammering the things that made us had us, have such good results last year. And that's, attacking the glove side sinker a little bit more. I think I did a lot better to right-handed hitters than I did to left. And that front hip sinker is something that I know he's a lefty, but Jared Koenig did it to right-handed hitters so well. And it's such a weapon to have as a sinker baller. And so again, it's very execution focused. Hey, can we execute that at a higher rate? That cutter really became a pitch that I leaned on, in the second half last year and really helped keep guys off the sinker, and being able to command that pitch even better than I did towards the end of the year is definitely kind of the low hanging fruit, the things that are easy to do every single day. And then just kind of trying to work on being a little bit more consistent with the curveball. In the past, I've had a good changeup. Last year, I don't even know if I threw it 10 times just because the game was telling us we didn't need it at the time. But, certainly having that as a weapon to pair with the sinker, I think would be huge. So that's, those are kind of some of the things that I'm thinking about every day here, getting ready for the season. And then it just kind of becomes playing the game. When we get to spring, let's see how things play. Let's see what hitters are telling us. Let's see, once, I'm in person with Jim and Hookie, to be able to, really get some good analysis before games start. And then we take it in just, kind of, it's a lot of what made us, have good results last year. And that's taking it pitch by pitch and just trying to get an out before 2 strikes. And then when we get to 2 strikes, that's when we go for the kill. But, staying within the zone and those things. So,
well, you mentioned what the hitters are telling you. That's a big thing for Woody. And in talking with Brandon for years now, I've noticed that he is relying on the hitter is going to tell him a story. So I think, Quinn, as a young pitcher, you could learn a hell of a lot of stuff from Brandon Woodruff, and I'm sure you are. Okay, so let me ask you this: you grew up a Cub fan, right?
This is true. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I don't know if you know this. You probably don't. But I absolutely hate the Cubs. The fans I don't have a problem with. Okay, the fans are fans, right? But just the Cubs, I can't. In fact, your boss, Pat Murphy, told me I needed to seek some professional help on my hatred of the Cubs because it affects my life, really. I think I lost a few years off my life in that Cub playoff series. What was that like going? How do you measure that? I mean, certainly you have dedication with the Brewers logo on your hat, but yet as a kid, you're running around with a couple of Anthony Rizzo cards in your pocket, and they're your favorite players. How do you balance that?
I think when, and this goes for, not to speak for, but I think most people at this level is you grew up a fan of somebody, right? You grew up a fan of some team. And when you cross that line, it does kind of go away. I think there definitely is something to, Wrigley Field and I've probably gone to, 40 or 50 games at Wrigley growing up. So being able to pitch on that mound, last year certainly felt a little surreal. I think going forward, wanting to handle games against them a little bit better, I need to remove that emotion and remove that little bit of, oh, this is the team that I grew up, which was Major League Baseball, and just because that was the team that was close and that was the team that everyone rooted for. But now, it's just another team, and you say you hate them so much. And I think, there's definitely a little bit of that emotion that goes into every rivalry that, is almost better if you can kind of remove it and take it as, hey, this is just another Major League team who, if you take the logos off the jerseys, you can compare every one of those guys' lineups to somebody else in the league who is comparable, hot zones, who is comparable swing and miss to certain pitches, and I've dominated those guys. So it's for me, for me, it is definitely, you see the jersey, and that's just what I grew up, rooting for. But when you do step in between the lines, it's get the next out and keep going. So being able to manage that, I think, takes experience. I think it takes experience, or it takes, being a little bit oblivious to it. And I definitely, think I'm going to use the experience that I had this year to manage those emotions going forward.
Breaking news, Tommy. Breaking news. Quinn Priester just said he hated the Cubs. I'm kidding.
I heard it. It's getting clipped now as we say that.
I'm kidding.
Quinn. Yeah, we'll get it back. We won't ask you about this past weekend. I don't even want to get into that conversation. Quinn, I want to go back though.
Good idea.
Yeah, exactly. Quinn, I want you. Let's see if you can go down and just close your eyes and envision it. I want to know when that moment it felt like it clicked last year, and when did you think that what, this isn't just a game. Like, I might have figured out the game a little bit here. I mean, your numbers by far, some of the best stuff you were putting out there was with this Brewers team. Compared, you had a stint with the organization already in this division, and you got moved on again, and you got moved on again, and I'm sure that's a frustrating, stressful time as well. So this, it felt like the odds could have been against you for it to click this year. But what is a moment or a conversation where you were just like, what, I might have a handle on this thing now here in Milwaukee?
I think you never figured out completely, right? You always, and what I've understood so far is every time I think I figured it out, that's when the game punches you in the face. It's, this game is so hard at this level to be consistently good. But I guess when you say that, there's a couple things that come to mind. I think there was a game against Atlanta at home where I go in 6 innings and had a really good game, a lot of ground balls. But commanded the cutter at the top of the zone for the first time. It felt like really, really well. And that was kind of like, oh shoot, this is what it could look like. This is, now that I have the sinker to the backside, the sinker inside, and the cutter up and away to run it, to keep the righties honest. And it just felt like, when I was executing, it was like the hitters weren't even going to get lucky. I was in complete control of that game. And then I think when it was really like, all right, I can do this for.
Oh, did we lose you there, Quinn?
Did we lose him?
Man, he was giving a good answer there too. Oh,
hello.
There he is. Now we got
you. To Bluetooth or something there? What was going on there, Quinn?
Gotcha.
No, so I just switched it to speaker. I'm not sure what happened there.
Wow.
Yeah.
But either way, so I would say that Atlanta game was the first time where I feel like my confidence really was at a point where, not that, it just felt like when I was in control, I'm going to be in control of this game. And then I was saying that the second one where I felt like it was like, man, I could really, this is repeatable. This is something that I can do for a long time, was that game in LA, where I ended up striking out the side in the first inning.
Yeah.
Kind of going back into the dugout, like, holy, did I just do that type of thing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And then,
good catch.
let's
Good
refocus.
catch.
We still got 5 more innings to pitch. So let's get back, let's refocus. And then, finishing that game the way I did, coming out of the All-Star break, I wanted to go another inning, but we had the long-term mindset, of the season in mind. So I was itching to go back out for a 7th there. And ultimately I think we made a great decision, not to. We ended up winning the game. The bullpen handled business, but that was the game where, it felt like I can go back to that at any point in my career if I'm worried about confidence or whatever, and say, go watch this game against, the lineup that those guys have. And the answer is yeah, you can do it against anybody. Now it's just about focusing on the process and continuing working what we've been working, rather than chasing that result. Because I feel like that's something that have a good game. Let's chase that result again rather than just doing the same thing day to day.
Yeah, no,
Awesome.
I'm with you there. Final thing for you, Quinn. I will catch up with you in Arizona, and I want to get your thoughts on Pat Murphy. He holds no shots. He takes shots all the time at me, which is fine. I think that's an adoration thing. But let me ask you about the fans here in Milwaukee. I mean, you've been a couple of different organizations, but at this level, what you guys did here in 25 was really an amazing ride, and it was a journey. And I try and speak on behalf of Brewer fans constantly to say, hey, keep pinching yourself, man, because this is really cool. It's really fun. How did the Brewer fans treat you in 25 here?
Incredible. It was, I think once we got past the little lull in the first month that we had, kind of got off to a slow start. I mean, it felt like every single game was sold out. It felt like, everywhere, if I was to be seen in public, it was always so like respectful, and it was so just normal and hey, man, very, appreciative, I guess, thankful. And it was just like, man, that's nice. And you know how it is. Like, I always grew up coming to Wisconsin for like some little summer weekend vacations. And I've absolutely loved the people, how friendly, that Midwest nice, that, how you treat your neighbor, kind of like your family kind of mindset. I've always admired that about Wisconsin. And seeing the fans, and then, you get to feel the other side of it, the intensity when you're going against the Cubs, and a lot of people share the same feelings that you do. And so it's a really cool fan base to play for. I've never been a part of an environment like we had, in the NLDS and the NLCS, especially that Game 5 at home. And I'd, hopefully, play long enough where I get to be a part of more environments just like that. And I know, every time, we play into the postseason that the city's going to show up for us. And like I said, it's just, there's just something about, being from the Midwest, being around Midwestern people and fans that's comfortable, and it's exciting, and it's always fun to play for them.
Well said. Well said.
Awesome.
We had a nickname for you on the post-game show last year, a couple of different. Father Quinn or the Mighty Quinn. Do you have a nickname?
People usually just call me Q or Priest. Just the Q got a little confusing this year because if you said Q, me and Quintana would both turn our head.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I started to say, hey, Q, you've been around a lot longer than me. You've had a lot more success than me. You can take that nickname.
Yeah.
And then, but usually that's what it is, or Priest or whatever. And
yeah,
and we're making dinner.
QP has a decent ring to it as well. You just throw another letter at the end. Yeah.
QP. Praise the Father Quinn.
Yes.
He's the priester. All right, Quinn. Hey, thanks for the time, man. Good luck heading into the 26th season. Best of luck. Keep up the good work, and we'll say hello to you in Arizona. All right.
Awesome. Can't wait, you guys. Thanks for having me on, and go Brewers. We'll see you soon.
Awesome.
There he is, Quinn Priester on the Gruber Law guest hotline. Oh, good stuff. Caleb Durbin next hour. We'll get a Cub update after the break here. There's Tommy Wirtz. Tim Allen. We're broadcasting live in the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Welcome back. It is Hot Stove Weekly here. There's Tommy Wirtz, Tim Allen back home. If the studio walls could talk, the number of years that I spent here, whoo.
Are they whispering or are they shouting at you?
Oh, man.
Screaming,
Yes.
yelling.
Yes, nothing illegal.
If they could punch, would studio walls punch you right
Yeah.
now?
We just got off the phone with Quinn Priester, and that again, you will have special stories in every season. You will have stories that go the other way. Craig Counsell taught me this years ago. He said, "Hey, look, every season you're going to have some surprises, and they're going to be good, but you don't know which form or fashion they're going to take, but you'll also have some surprises that disappoint you." And that for Quinn Priester was a bright surprise. What a trade early on in the year for Matt Arnold and that staff to bring him in, and whatever elixir they had with that right-hander, it worked.
Well, an unpopular trade at first too.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people not thrilled about the move when it first went down, and then all of a sudden that changed very quickly, real quick for Quinn Priester on that tone.
Gruber Law Guest Hotline is where we find our buddy Bruce Levine in Chicago, longtime baseball beat. And let's talk a little National League Central. Bruce, thanks for the time. And you're the second guest back here at the old stomping grounds for me.
Yeah, Tim, nice to have you back on the air. That's great. And I was just thinking before you brought me on, has there been a time since the era of Hallis versus Lombardi that we've had a greater coaching, managing matchup, both football and baseball, for the Milwaukee team and the Chicago teams right now with the Cubs and the Brewers? I mean, you have two fantastic baseball managers. You have two fantastic football coaches, although I'm sure people up here.
Slow down, Bruce. Slow down. We are not ready for that conversation today.
You can argue that, but he's a wonderful coach. And I'm telling you, when organizations make commitments to outstanding leaders, you have results that are not only happening but expected, and that's why there's such a huge disappointment for obviously the Green Bay fans right now.
Bruce, the Chicago Cubs made a couple of moves here, and I want to give Brewer fans a heads up that it's game on, and it is a 92-win team, that Chicago Cub Counsell-led team. I suspect if the Brewers have a little regression from 97 down a little bit, Cubs progress a little bit with the advent of Cabrera and Bregman added, they're going to be one hell of a summer, and this rivalry is just heated up even more.
No doubt about it. But remember how last year started and how the Brewers were dealing with injuries and being way down to the Cubs in the first couple months, and then they ascended to the point where they were the talk of baseball for a long period of time during their winning streak, or a couple winning streaks. So I have learned over the years that the front offices of the Brewers and the leadership for the Brewers is never to be underestimated. Don't ever do it. And no matter how many moves the Cubs make, I think the Brewers are going to be an outstanding team. Now, if you can tell me if Freddie Peralta will be the opening day pitcher or not for the Brewers, I can give you a better idea of how it's going to shake out. But the Brewers always stay ahead of the curve of guys that are going to be becoming free agents, and they do a terrific job. So as much as, the Cubs have certainly improved on paper by adding Bregman and trading for Cabrera, I don't think this impacts the quality of the team that the Brewers are going to throw out there.
Yeah, Bruce, I want to bring it up since you talked about the Freddie Peralta, the possibility of him getting traded. You guys did make the trade for Cabrera, and the Brewers holding off for now because they believe they can get a pretty big haul if they are going to move on from Freddie Peralta. What was your initial reaction for the trade for Edward Cabrera? You had to send over Casey. We saw a little bit of him against the Brewers last season and a couple other prospects. Did you think it was a high price? Did you think it was a move that the Cubs have to make always, every year? What was your first reactions when you found out Cabrera was going to be in Chicago this season?
Well, Tim, my thoughts are that the Cubs minor league system had improved to such a point where they don't have to be a total free agent team anymore. So that had been the charge of owner Tom Ricketts when he and Theo Epstein parted. His first charge for new president of baseball operations, Jed Hoyer, was build me a farm system and build it so that we don't have to pay $300 or $400 million a year every year and find new people. We want to have an infrastructure like the Cardinals used to do, like the Brewers are doing, and then we'll add on free agents, and that's what they've been doing. So they've built a better farm system. Not all of it is going to be on the field, Tim. A lot of it is used in currency to obtain really good players like Cabrera, good players like Tucker last year. You trade number one picks. They're probably going to be really good players, but you don't care because you already have good players on the field and you're trading for people that can help you win. So from that perspective, the Cubs are going about things differently than they did 10, 12 years ago when they first made their run at winning a World Series and did it. Back then, they drafted well. They had number one picks that came through, and then they put over $100 million every year into their pitching staff. This is just a little different way of going about it.
There's Tommy Wirtz, Tim Allen. We're talking on the Gruber Law guest hotline. One call, that's all, with Bruce Levine from The Score in Chicago and a longtime baseball beat. Bruce, you're now a couple of years into the Craig Counsell thing, and you and I have discussed here the last few years of Craig Counsell being a good manager, and he is. And I know a lot of Brewers fans don't like me saying that, but the reality is he's won more games in a Brewers uniform than any other manager in Brewers history. How did he handle that? Because the fan bases were rabid. When I didn't want the Brewers to face the Cubs in that playoff series. I think the heartbreak was just too risky for me. I would have ended up having to go on sabbatical for a year or something had they lost that. But how did Counsell handle that? I recall the one game at American Family Field when Vaughn hit the 3-run homer. He did this like heel spin and went to the phone, and he did not look happy, and maybe rightly so. But how was his demeanor down the stretch there when the Cubs were fighting in the playoffs?
Well, he was totally invested, as you can imagine, but it wasn't because it was the Brewers. It was because his team was in the playoffs and trying to win. I firmly believe that. There's none of the, I want to beat my hometown team. I want to show them. I want to show the fan base, that they booed me and they couldn't understand why I left town and they hate me. There was none of that. All I saw was what I saw of him when I watched him as a player. And that is the ultimate competitor, the ultimate type of guy that just wants to win, okay? And I've had some conversations, some tough ones with him last year about winning and questioning whether, some of the process was all about winning. And they became pretty heated because he had to remind me once, a very heated argument about how we're winners, we're all about winning. And he just gave me a really strong talking to about the fact that don't forget that this is about me and my players and about winning, and that's it. So I can tell you flat out that this guy, from my perspective, all he cared about is winning a series, and that the Brewers had very little to do with it for him. And I saw him do this as a player. Everybody watched his career as a player. You saw him being an essential part and a winning part of those teams. So
Sure.
All of that, that's what I see. I see a guy that is committed to winning, and the Brewer part of it, I never really saw it be a big part of what he was trying to accomplish.
But Bruce, I mean, you hear all the time players say, "Well, yeah, I want to get that team back for trading me," or you hear players say that. I would just add this to it, Bruce, that human nature is a pretty strong tug on the emotion. And maybe he didn't vocalize it, maybe Counsell didn't vocalize it, but the human nature part of it, I don't think he could have lost in an elimination game to a worse team than the Brewers. I'll just put it that way.
I mean, look, they were outmanned. The Brewers were a better team. The Cubs had no pitching left, no excuses. The Brewers were just a better team, and it showed up, and they won. They won that series, but they made it tough on them after losing those first two. And if you look at the Cubs pitching, the injuries, and the ability to win for some of the guys like Imanaga just wasn't there any longer. The Brewers were better. They won. And I think he knew that as well at that point in time, that the Brewers were a better team. That doesn't mean he didn't fight to the end like his players did to try to win, but, ultimately they've won, and, congratulations to them. The Brewers are a good team and a franchise to admire, and I think Counsell feels that way as well. I don't think he ever wanted to leave Milwaukee. So the idea that he wanted to leave Milwaukee, I don't think that ever came into the equation. I think there was probably an issue between the owner and Counsell, and they didn't see eye to eye, and he felt it was time to leave. So he did the best thing he could for him and his family.
Bruce, we got about 1 minute left here with you. I just wanted to ask about the Kyle Tucker situation. Do you see the Cubs involved at all still, and maybe possibility getting him back? You've heard up to $50 million being offered at an AAV for this guy. How important is it to get him back, or do you believe he will be back with the Chicago Cubs?
No, he won't be back with the Cubs. They spent their money on Bregman, and it was a very smart move. Bregman is a terrific player. He's a leader on a team automatically. He's one of the most well-liked and well-respected guys in the game, all the way around, regardless of what happened in Houston with that team that cheated. That was 8 years ago or 9 years ago. But Bregman is tremendously well respected, and he's going to fill a lot of holes for the Chicago Cubs. So they're just a better team for it. I think he's going to hit better than Tucker did at Wrigley Field. Tucker hit 236 with 7 home runs and 36 RBIs at Wrigley last year. So I'm not quite sure that Tucker ever really wanted to come back to the Cubs anyway, because Wrigley Field was a haunted house for him last year. And I don't think that played well in his mind.
Bruce, always a pleasure, man. We'll talk down the line, but good to be back in the family here with you guys. All right.
Thanks, Bruce.
Take care.
All right, there he is, Bruce Levine, Gruber Law Guest Hotline. Another hour to go. We're talking Brewers baseball. I love it. There's Tommy Wirtz, Tim Allen. It's Hot Stove Weekly, live here in the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook.
Hey Brewers fans, we know it can get real cold outside. So let's warm you up with the latest on the crew. It's time for Hot Stove Weekly on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. The 2026 championship season cannot get here quick enough. The crew came up short in the 25 season, and it's time to turn the page and look towards the future. Get the latest on free agent signings, trades, the front office, and the fans. It's Hot Stove Weekly with Tommy Wirtz. Here's the franchise Tim Allen.
Welcome back. It's hour number 2, Hot Stove Weekly. There's Tommy Wirtz, Tim Allen, talking Brewers baseball. I love it. You're gonna have to, Tommy. You're gonna have to hold my hand through a lot of this video stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm on video right now.
You're killing it as of right now.
Jeez.
I mean, I don't know what else to tell you, man. Yeah, you got it. You got it down.
So I did bring after the next break, I'll show you a little trinket I bought.
Oh, all right.
I brought with me. And so stick around for that. Also stick around. We're going to talk to Caleb Durbin in about 20 minutes or so, and we'll continue our conversation on the guest hotline powered by Gruber Law. One call, that's all. Jack Stern covers the Brewers, been picked on by Pat Murphy many a time. Jack, how are you, man? Welcome to the show.
I'm doing great. Even better now that you made sure to bring that up.
Yeah, we have to, Jack. I mean, I think when we found out, Jack, that like you're just doing you're a young man in this game right now. Like, it was more impressive, and it's almost like a badge of honor if Murph is giving you a hard time at that point, right?
It's a good rite of passage. Yeah. I would rather have that than him giving me like a weird side eye every time I ask the question, because that would probably I'd be worse off if that was the case. So I'll take it.
You don't want him to treat you like he treats Todd. I got it. Yeah, I got it. Uh-huh.
So the dust is settled here. We closed the book on the 2025 season. Now the 26 championship season is upon us, really. And we're going to be talking Brewers baseball each and every Wednesday night. Hot Stove Weekly here on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. But Jack, we need to clarify that it's Angel Serpa, right? Okay, we got that from the media relations department, but I would assume that there will be more deals, or is that the wrong assumption to be made heading into the season?
I'm not sure there's going to be a whole lot more that goes down here. When you look at this roster up and down, you know, this was always going to be a pretty quiet offseason for the Brewers. They're in kind of a unique space now compared to where they've usually been. They have a lot of guys who are under team control for a while. They're bringing back almost the exact same team, and they have a lot of young guys in that core who they feel really good about moving forward. They traded for Zerpa, and in doing that, they gave away a couple of the guys who probably weren't going to be part of that core moving forward. Nick Mears, Isaac Collins, those guys are a little bit older. They've already probably had their best seasons, so you're kind of looking forward and you're bringing in a younger guy there in exchange for those two players who can help you more long-term. Otherwise, though, they've had most of the pieces in place for 2026 since 2025. So I think, obviously, the big fish that's still out there, the big move potentially is what happens with Freddie Peralta. That's going to be a big one. Backup catcher has kind of been a topic of conversation. You have Jefferson Cairo is currently in line to back up William Contreras, but there's always a possibility that the Brewers go out and they bring in a veteran catcher to back him up instead, just to buy Cairo a little bit more time in AAA, because his playing time has been derailed by injuries the last couple of years. But outside of that, they've largely been in pretty good shape with the roster. They just have so many guys who are coming back. I don't know that there's really going to be a whole lot of movement here unless it is that Freddie Peralta deal or they do something at backup catcher. But outside of that, this roster is largely set.
Well, Jack, with the roster being very similar to 2025, going into that season, the expectations, there was a lot of uncertainty surrounding them. Weren't sure if there were people that were very high on the team or the team was going to lose 100 games. It felt like there was no in between at either of these sides. But it feels like now in 2026, the expectations, I can't remember them being higher in this era of Brewers baseball right now, Jack.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that comes back to a lot of the guys on this team. They proved something last year. Bryce Terang had a big year. Jackson Chourio didn't quite hit that big breakout yet, but he was still very productive in year two. Didn't really have a sophomore slump. Sal Frelick took a step forward. Caleb Durbin was a productive rookie as well. Jake Bowers did some good things down the stretch.
Yeah, he did.
You've still got some questions at shortstop with Joey Ortiz, but the Brewers are still really, really high on what they think he can do moving forward if he gets a longer leash. But I think a lot of it just comes back to you had a lot of these guys who they hadn't quite proven a lot of these things yet going into last year. Now they have. So I think that's where you're seeing some of that optimism come from.
You just, in just a general sense, Jack, you just go around the diamond. I mean, you're covered at first. Andrew Vaughn and Bowers and Terang, Ortiz, Durbin, Contreras, Churio, Yelich, Frelick, Garrett Mitchell avoided arbitration, just under $1 million. The organization, I assume, is still banking on him to be what he can be. But I just where would the move come from then? Would be my question. If indeed there was a move, maybe on the left side of the infield is the only maybe minor little thing that I could point to. Outside of that, starting pitching depth and maybe a bullpen piece.
Yeah, there's not really a lot that I think they need to do. And the big thing to always consider when you're thinking about this, do you get someone from outside the organization? Do you upgrade here? You got to look at what's out there. You got to look at what you have. And then you got to look at the likelihood of, okay, is this guy actually going to be a whole lot better than what you have already? And you have to go outside the org, and you got to pay money in free agency or pay something in a trade to bring him in. And I think that's really where the Brewers are very comfortable with staying pat. They like the guys they have. They see the upside in some of these guys. In some cases, they might know these guys better than other teams anyway. So I think that they like what they have, and they're not going to necessarily do something to disrupt it just for the sake of doing something. This has never been an organization that's been super, super flashy with its moves, but guess what? They're pretty darn consistent. Yeah. They're always near the top of the division every single year. So, they've had a pretty good payoff so far from their internal talent evaluation and the guys that they've chosen to roll out there, even if they might not look like the flashiest guys all the time. And they're going to stick to that, I think, and I think they're going to have some more success with it.
Jack Stern, covering the Brewers baseball for Brewer Fanatic, here joining us on Hot Stove Weekly. Tommy Wirtz, Tim Allen alongside as well. Jack, we had Quinn Priester on just about 45 minutes ago on the show. Was our first guest. Then we had Bruce. Now you're kind of the third guest. Sorry. It's the three hitter, man. You're the three hitter right now, Jack. But Quinn Priester, looking at it, he was maybe the Brewers, one of the biggest breakouts for the Brewer, if not the biggest breakout for the Milwaukee Brewers last season. You're a big numbers guy. You love looking at the advanced analytics. Is there any numbers that might back up the next breakout guy for this Brewers baseball team heading into 2026? Or do you just have a gut feeling about who you might like that maybe didn't have as good of a 2025 that you expect to jump in 2026?
So just to stick on the pitching side and the rotation, I wrote about him really recently. Chad Patrick has kind of caught my eye here moving forward. And, that's not a guy who struggled by any means last year. He was actually a really big part of that rotation, staying afloat when, they were injury riddled in the first half. And then he was lights out of the bullpen in the second half.
Right.
But just kind of seeing some of the changes that he made down the stretch. I know the bullpen stuff and the velocity is kind of what excited everybody, but he's got a pretty deceptive arsenal, especially now that he added that curveball into the mix in the second half. And, the cutter has always been the big pitch for him. He's got the fastballs that he throws off of that. There were limits to what he could do in the rotation last year. He was kind of like a 4 or 5 inning, and then you got to get him out of the game kind of guy because he was throwing mostly fastballs because he just didn't have anything great as far as secondary pitches go. Now he's got this curveball. It tunnels really, really well with the rest of his arsenal, especially with that cutter. It got a lot of chases. It got a lot of swings and misses. And when he was pitching out of the bullpen in the playoffs, he was throwing that curveball a lot with that cutter. So he's got a fuller arsenal now. If you look at some of the metrics that kind of estimate into one number how good a guy's stuff is, he was number 2 on the roster behind Jacob Misiorowski for starting pitchers on this Brewers staff. He was ahead of Freddie Peralta. He was ahead of Brandon Woodruff, ahead of some other guys, ahead of Quinn Priester too. So he's got the stuff now to I think, be an even better starting pitcher than he was last year. There's going to be a wide open lane for him in that rotation, I'm sure. So I'm very, very curious to see what he does in 2026.
I'm a big fan of Chad Patrick. I thought he got shafted when, Misiorowski came up, and he was the odd man out. He reminds me, and a lot of Brewer fans are going to laugh at me about this, but I'll disclaim it with when Zach Davies was rolling well, when Dave Bush was rolling well, Patrick is sort of that bulldog, guys. There's the mental makeup with Chad Patrick that I think Brewer fans should take note of. I consider him as in the rotation this year. I do. I'd be surprised if he weren't, right?
I mean, they're going to go into spring training, I'm sure, with some competition just because they have so much depth. But I think when you look at his makeup, you look at what he accomplished last year, all the stuff that I just talked about how his future could be pretty bright. I would imagine he's got to have a pretty good leg up on some other guys here for that fifth spot.
So will the real Andrew Vaughn step up? So they pick him up. The Stark, I was just looking at it this morning. The numbers in Chicago versus the numbers in Milwaukee. What in the world? I mean, that shows you, I think it shows you a couple of things. Good guidance is good guidance. I get it. But I think the mental part of this game, the fresh change, the new start, the being wanted, the playing big shot with a big crowd at American Family Field and endearing yourself to the crowd of the 3-run jack against the Dodgers. And what do you make of Andrew Vaughn? $7.6 million for the season. Is he the real deal?
So I don't quite know if we can really say for sure that he's exactly the guy that he was last year for the Brewers after that trade. That was still a fairly small sample in the grand scheme of things, and you got to be careful with that. He only played 64 games with them. He had about 250 plate appearances plus the playoffs. But there is stuff in his makeup that has always been pretty legit. He's always been a guy who's hit the ball pretty hard. Even with the White Sox, he was still doing that a little bit more than the surface level numbers would tell you. He always had that power in him. And scouts like this guy a lot. I mean, there was a reason that he was a first-round pick several years ago with the White Sox. And I think part of it, too, is just he came to a team that I think was able to give him a little bit different messaging. You know, the Brewers are very, very big on swing at the right pitches. And that was something that he always struggled to do when he was in Chicago. Now, was that just because he was pressing a little bit or the environment around him? I don't know. But the Brewers are able to get that message through to him pretty quickly when he came to Milwaukee. So I think that makes a pretty big difference. It's a lot easier for your skills to shine if you're swinging at the pitches that allow your skills to shine, the pitches that you know you can hit, because if you're chasing a lot, that's just, you're not going to be able to do anything with those kinds of pitches.
Well, Murph said it. Tommy, Jack, Murph said, you chase, you're not going to play.
Well, you remember how much in the doghouse some of the guys were last year. Was it Collins that had one, or maybe it was Joey Ortiz? Right, that's what it was.
Yeah,
it was Joey
right.
Ortiz who got in the
pissed off the manager.
Oh my gosh! Yeah. It was like I would never swing the bat if I knew that if you missed at it. Like with Pat Murphy and his reactions to it last year. Jack Stern, follow him on Twitter at by Jack Stern, joining us here on Hot Stove Weekly. Jack, let's continue on then with this conversation with the bats right now, because Andrew Vaughn figured it out. At the end of the year last year, this team desperately needed some pop in that lineup, and they couldn't find it anywhere, it felt like. Is there a guy who they expect to take another step with their power game in this Brewers lineup, and that's why they've been quiet in the free agent market or in the trade market right now to try to bring in maybe a corner infielder or middle infielder, some would say? Is there anyone who's going to take that jump too, that you think power isn't going to still be a problem for this team?
I think Jackson Chourio and Jake Bauers are probably the two I'm watching the closest.
There you go.
Nice. Is he going to play a whole lot this year? Is it like, because Andrew Vaughn, like they were splitting time kind of, and Vaughn really took it off. But like Jake Bauers, they brought him back for a reason, right, Jack?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Continue on.
So I think with Bauers, this is where it kind of comes back to Chourio. Like those two guys kind of go hand in hand, because I think if Bauers is going to play more, you probably got to stick him in left field a little bit. But if Jackson Chourio can't play center field, Jackson Chourio is probably playing left field. So I think a lot of this might come down to, can Chourio handle center field moving forward? Because if he can, and you trust his defense out there, which he's got the ability to be a very, very good defender. He has the tools of a center fielder. If he can play out there and you can trust him, it gets a little bit easier to put Jake Bauers in left field more often. If you have two good defenders in the outfield in Chourio and Frelick, if you don't like Chourio in center, now you probably do need to start like a Blake Perkins or a Brandon Lockridge, or maybe it's Garrett Mitchell if he's healthy, and then Chourio slides over to a corner spot. But I mean, these are two guys who have a lot of raw power. Bauer started tapping into it more because he finally started making a little bit more contact. Chourio's always had it too, and we see it show up seemingly in the playoffs more than anything. But those are the two guys that I'm really looking at because, you know, they have a lot of guys in this lineup who have power, but they don't really quite elevate or hit the ball at the right trajectories to turn that into home run power. Bowers is a lot closer to that already, and the contact piece is starting to fall into place. I feel like Chourio, as he gets a little bit more experience against big league pitching, cleans up the swing decisions. He's got really quick hands, man. I think we're going to start seeing that turn into a little bit more game power. If he can start pushing 30 home runs a year in a healthy season, and if Bowers can give you even 15 in a part-time role, those are going to be pretty big boosts.
So, Tommy, to that point, to that question, I think you will pick up some power. And I wanted to ask Jack what the latest is on a guy that really fought through a broken finger while catching and hitting, and that's William Contreras.
Yeah.
And I just think he's getting a bad rap because the numbers still weren't horrible. But man, I think the sky's the limit given some health for him. Where's the latest? What's the status on William Contreras and the surgery?
So the last that we heard is that he underwent that surgery to correct that finger issue, and there really haven't been a whole lot of updates beyond that. I would imagine that's going to be a little bit more of a spring training thing where we're going to be around and we're going to get a chance to ask a little more up close and personal how he's doing and how he's feeling. But I would imagine you're going to be able to tell if it was a success pretty quickly into spring training once you actually see him swinging a bat and you see how he's getting around and you see how much power he's able to generate with his bat speed and different things like that. So we don't have a whole lot of information outside of just the fact that he did go under the knife and he did try to get it fixed. So we're going to see how it looks in spring, but he's always been a guy who I think we still even saw it last year at times, even with that broken finger. He probably does have the highest power ceiling out of just about anybody in this offense because when he's at his best, he's hit the ball hardest. He's had the highest hard hit rates, the highest exit velos, the highest max exit velos. The issue has always been, though, that he has one of the highest ground ball rates in baseball. So if you're hitting the ball 110 miles an hour into the ground, that's not going over the fence. So he's already well enough into his career where I kind of need to see a change there to believe it. He's going to continue to hit the ball hard, I think. But, we're 6 years in now to Contreras running really high ground ball rates every single year. I'm not sure that it's just kind of a snap your fingers and elevate the ball more, pull it in the air more kind of deal. It's in there. I don't think it's gone anywhere, but I'm starting to get past the point of, okay, is he actually going to tap into that 35, 40 homer potential, or is he going to hit the ball really hard, but it's going to be a little bit more of a well-rounded, higher batting average, higher on base, a lot of doubles, and then maybe 15, 20 homers in there as well.
Mm-hmm. Could be, because we all saw it last year and the year before. How many times were we just in awe of, geez, there's the 9th pitch of the AB coming up. I mean, this guy was fighting his tail off all season. It was pretty impressive.
Yeah, and that's kind of his MO. He wants to be in there every day. He's going to give it everything he's got. I think sometimes the Brewers probably could do a little bit of a better job protecting him from himself as far as the workload goes. But you do see that reflected in the at-bats too. And I do think one thing he's been very good at is he can kind of adjust during an at-bat depending on what he's trying to do.
Right.
Like if you watch him really, really closely, he'll use a lot of different batting stances. He'll shorten up his swing sometimes. He's trying to do different things from one at-bat to the next. And I do think that speaks to a pretty mature hitter and a pretty developed hitter, that he's got not only the awareness to know when he needs to do what, but also the ability to have different kinds of swings and different kinds of setups depending on what the situation is. Hitting big league pitching in 2025 and now 2026 is not easy if you just have basically one stance and then maybe your 2-strike stance or your 2-strike swing. If he's rolling out 5 different stances and 5 different loads and 5 different versions of that swing and he's succeeding with a lot of them and he's able to adapt like that during an at-bat, that is a pretty rare skill set right there.
Jack, I got one more question for you. Jack Stern joining us here on Hot Stove Weekly. Jack, the likelihood, or I guess, is there any chance that this Brewers team is going to move on from either pitcher Freddie Peralta, Trevor McGill. They've been names that have been circulated around in this offseason. Do you see a likelihood that either of those guys are on the move? Is there any package that would help the Brewers heading into 2026? Where are you at with the latest on Peralta and McGill in the trade rumors?
I think where I'm at right now with Freddie is, I don't know, 30% chance he gets moved. I think earlier in the offseason, I was probably saying like 10%, but it sounds like the Brewers have gotten at least a few pretty tempting offers. But I do think it's also worth noting that look at a lot of the teams that have been linked to him. They're all kind of pivoting now. You know, the Yankees, there were some rumors there. They went out and they got Ryan Weathers last night, and they gave up a really big prospect package for him. The Red Sox, who have been rumored a little bit, they just signed Ranger Suarez. Would they still be interested in a deal? Maybe, but you're kind of seeing some of these teams pivot to other guys. The Orioles, they traded for Shane Baz from the Tampa Bay Rays a few weeks ago. Like, it seems like the suitors one by one are kind of going in a different direction. That doesn't mean nothing's going to happen, but I think it's going to have to take an offer that really floors the Brewers, and it doesn't seem like they've gotten that yet. Now, as far as McGill goes, I think you got to set that bar a little bit lower. I'm usually a pretty big fan of get the best 2 or 3 years out of a reliever and then get out of there before he falls apart. And I'm not saying that's necessarily going to happen with Trevor McGill, but I think it's just a good business model overall because relievers have a pretty short prime unless you're, you know, Mariano Rivera or Josh Hader or some of these other guys that we see once in a while. But it seems like they haven't quite gotten that package on either one of those guys that's going to get them to pull the trigger. So if I had to guess at this point, I would expect both of them are probably still going to be here on opening day. But, you know, all it takes is all of a sudden one team swoops in with something and that can change everything.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know what you would get for McGill. I'm not. Maybe a big market team would overpay. I guess, but man, you can't have enough at the back end of the bullpen. And I understand your point, Jack. I get it because it's spin the dials on bullpen for every team. A lot of teams turn their bullpen over year to year to year to year, and you try and land these guys on their best seasons all together in 1 year. I get it. But Uribe and McGill in that back end, man, I don't know if I'd mess with that. And I don't know the return that you get for McGill. I'm not thinking it's going to be crazy good though.
I mean, that's what I would have guessed too. But then all of a sudden there were some rumors that teams are actually really interested in him, and the Brewers are getting some more enticing offers. But you know, it does seem so far like nobody has quite blown them away with anything.
Mm-hmm.
I think if that had happened by now, we probably would have heard a little more or something would have went down. Now, the one thing to consider is we are getting a little bit closer to spring training. You know, maybe that's when teams start to get a little bit more desperate with their offers because all the other options have landed elsewhere. That's probably the one thing to really think about here. Is there going to be an increased sense of urgency in the coming weeks? Maybe. But again, if I still had to make a guess right now, I do think we're going to see both of those guys in the clubhouse in Maryvale in a few weeks here.
Good. I'm glad. Jack, we appreciate the time, and we'll talk down the line, okay?
Yeah, thank you, guys.
Thanks, Jack.
Brewer Fanatic, there's Jack Stern on the guest hotline powered by Gruber Law. One call, that's all. We get to talk Brewers baseball each and every Wednesday night. There's Tommy Wirtz, Tim Allen. We're going to talk to Caleb Durbin coming up. If you guys want to throw us a text message. We may have a couple of minutes here shortly after we chat with Caleb Durbin to take a couple of phone calls as well. Nicolay Law talking text line at 414-677-1250. And again, you guys, we'll get that phone number into your contacts, Brewers fans. So give us a little time and we'll get, you'll get used to it. Again, it's 414-677-1250. Hot Stove Weekly, Tommy Wirtz, Tim Allen, live here on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Welcome back. It's Hot Stove Weekly here. There's Tommy Wirtz. My name is Tim Allen. Nice to meet you guys. Nice to be back home here.
Feels good. Feels right now.
In the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios here, talking Brewers baseball, getting you a little bit warmer. We're trapped here in a wintry nightmare mid-January, but about a month, pitchers and catchers, they'll be throwing some baseballs around, and won't be long before the 26th championship season is upon us. But 97 wins last year, a trip to the NLCS, and here to talk more about that is on the guest hotline powered by Gruber Law. One call, that's all. Here's Caleb Durbin. Caleb, how are you, man?
Yeah, I'm good, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no problem. So we talked to Quinn Priester last hour, and he turncoat. He did a turncoat in the Midwest. He headed down to Tampa. So he's down in Florida. Do you still reside in this wintry nightmare Midwest?
Yeah, so Quinn did the smart thing, and he got out of all the snow. I'm still back at home, so I'm between Milwaukee and Chicago right now, and definitely itching to get out to Arizona pretty soon.
Okay, let me start out with this, Caleb. I've been doing post game a long time, and players have burst onto the scene a little bit, and you did that, and you proved a lot to a lot of Brewers fans. You endeared yourself to Brewer fans something fierce. And did it surprise you? And you can say no, that's okay. You're confident in your ability. But did it surprise you that it looked like it came easy to you to have success?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely didn't come easy. I think in the beginning, I definitely, as a rookie, you take your lumps in the beginning, you try to learn from them. And that's the biggest thing is going into this year, I really didn't know what to expect. And I kind of embraced that part of it. I just really wanted to have a mindset where I was kind of rolling with the punches and then once I was able to kind of get into a rhythm and get my feet underneath me, I had a lot of guys around me that I was able to feed off of and ended up being, a great spot for me.
Yeah, Caleb, not only were you a rookie, but you got traded right beforehand too. And you got to find out it's December of 2024 and you got to figure out how you're going to get to Milwaukee and how you're going to get your life together for the 25 season. Who are some guys in that clubhouse that really helped you out during that? Whether it's fellow teammates, some coaches, how did you make that process as smooth as possible when coming to a new organization before you even get into the big leagues fully all the way?
Yeah, I think that's an underrated part of the business side of what we do. It was my second time being traded before I was even able to get up to the big league. So I think that was probably one of the bigger parts to the whole thing is you're around new guys. Luckily, we have a really solid young core with some really good veterans that are willing to help you. I mean, Style, Joey, Bryce, Isaac, all those younger guys that I'm around all the time. Those young position players, I'm around them pretty much 24/7. And then on top of that, having Murph, leading us and making me feel comfortable right away. Since the first time we talked on the phone right after I got traded over. So the Brewers as a whole, did a great job at making me feel comfortable. And I think that was a big part of me, feeling pretty comfortable throughout the season.
Yeah. What was the origin of Happy? That's what Murph always called you in post game. I don't know if you want to give away too many secrets or if you can't give it away, but Happy, does that nickname best embody you there, Caleb?
Yeah, honestly, you'd have to go through Murph to get the full story. He explained the story to me. I don't quite understand it still, but I will say the first time I met Murph in person, went up to go shake his hand in spring training last year, about a week before spring actually started. And I went up to shake his hand and he just said happy. And I thought he was asking me, am I happy to be here? And I was like, yeah, I'm fired up. And he shook my hand and didn't say anything else, and that ended up being my nickname for the rest of the year.
That's crazy. So I'm thinking back to what a season it was. It was such a fun ride, and MLB Network had on win number 14 in the streak, and I believe you had homered in that game, if I'm not mistaken. What is that like? You make a big play for one of your pitchers, and it ends an inning, and it gets you out of a jam, and there's either Uribe or Freddie just fist pumping and crowd going nuts and all that. Do you have to pinch yourself to say what did I do to deserve this?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of times throughout the year where I definitely felt spoiled, especially as a rookie. I think those win streaks, I think we had an 8-game, 11-game, and 14-gamer. And when you're in the middle of them, it's a special feeling because you're just so locked in the zone. You're really clicking on all phases of the game to have those types of win streaks, and then you put in perspective once the season ends and you basically just look back and you're like, wow, that's impressive that we were able to accomplish those things. But during them, it's like it's a really great feeling because you're just so in the zone, locked in. Everyone's kind of doing their part. Every day it's someone new stepping up, and that was really fun to be a part of.
Well, I got to thank you. So on a couple of different fronts. Number one, because I'm a huge Brewer fan. You know that we've spoken before. Huge Brewer fan. Been doing the post game show for a million years. So just the fact that you guys won 97 games, but I will tell you this: our sponsor, Potawatomi Sportsbook, and I know you guys don't like to talk about gambling, but on May 31st, think about this, Caleb. On May 31st, I put down $100 on you guys to win the division. Okay, not to win the World Series, but just to win the division at 16-1.
Wow.
Then you guys go on a major roll, and I am just I'm in heaven here. Then it gets to the playoffs to where you're facing the Cubs, and I hate the Cubs, you know that. And I don't hate their fans or anybody associated with the team outside of just the team itself. Just I don't like the Cubs. Anyway, I didn't want you guys to face the Cubs because my heartbreak would have been just too devastated. I mean, it would have been horrible. But then when you come back and you win that series against that team, arch rival, because it is a rivalry, how did that feel? Not just to move on to the NLCS, but to the fact that you beat Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, after the fact, it obviously felt amazing. When you're in the fight and in the battle, you kind of just are trying to stay locked in, and the playoffs is so it's crazy just in itself, let alone when you're playing a division rival. So you're trying to not make it as big as it has to be, but winning that series, we felt, it was big for us. Obviously, Cubs are a really good team. It was big for the city, huge for the fans. Like, we definitely felt that. And we were super happy to come through for the whole organization, the whole city. That was, we definitely felt how big that was.
Yeah, you're always happy. That's what I've heard, at
Yeah.
least. Yeah. Caleb Durbin, Brewers third baseman, joining us here on Hot Stove Weekly. Two-parter here for you, Caleb. First of all, do you have any sort of working relationship or workout with Randy Arozarena at all?
Randy? No, I do not, unfortunately.
Well, I just wondered because you guys both led the league in hit by pitches last year in the AL, in the NL. I'm wondering if that's why you stayed in the Illinois area, because you can just jump in the snow afterwards. How big is that being a part of your game? I mean, welcome to the big leagues. Get hit by the most pitches in the National League last year. Is it something that you're annoyed after a while, or is it you're used to this and you're almost looking to see if a ball is going to be in a little more and maybe you just wear one on the pad?
Yeah, it's funny because I get that question a lot, because I think if you look at, every season I get hit by a decent amount of pitches. Obviously last year I had maybe 24, 25.
Oh, you're all over it. 24. You knew. Yeah.
Yep.
There we go. Yeah. And I joked saying that, that's something I practice in the off season. Obviously I don't know how you even practice that. But
It's just
yeah,
that Happy Gilmore scene in you. You're just wearing it as they're coming right down the middle.
We got
right?
ice.
Exactly. Yeah. I think at the end of the day, it's just my approach. I'm not really giving up on pitches. That could be it, but I'll take it any way I can get on base. It only hurts for a little bit, and then it goes away. So if it gets me to first base and can potentially get me in a scoring position, then I'm all for it.
Caleb, you weren't here for the Alonso swing the year prior. But we'll fast forward here to the NLCS disappointment. And I know Murph had said after the Alonso and the Mets losing to the Mets in that series, it taught the players what it takes in that new season. So what did Murph say to you? I mean, we've got a few recordings of Murphy, how he addressed you guys in his post-game pressers and things like that. But I mean, shed some light on what he said after that NLCS disappointment and how that can work in your favor the following year.
Yeah, I think the big thing is obviously in the moment it's really tough. It burns, but he wanted to make sure that we were proud of what we had accomplished throughout the season. And yeah, basically it's the same thing as the year before. It's there's levels to this thing, and if we want to get over the next hump and try to make it to a World Series and win the whole thing, then it's that next step that we have to take as a team collectively. So yeah, kind of a two-parter there where you try to build off of all the good things that you did the season before, but also there's more work to be done to get over that next hump.
Okay, really quick. You can say just this is the worst question in the world, but do you kind of go through your baseball cards? Do you like buy packs of baseball cards?
Ooh, good question.
Hoping to get a Caleb Durbin or a jersey card or an autograph or something.
It's really cool because I'll have kids come up to me with my baseball card, and if it's a new baseball card that I haven't seen before, it's I love kind of collecting them. And I'm not a huge pack buyer. I don't buy a ton of packs, but if I see a really cool card, online, I'll try to snag it. Because I've never been a huge card guy, but you kind of gain an appreciation for them when you see a bunch of different cool cards, whether it's your teammates or yourself. So I've definitely gotten into it a little bit more.
I pulled a Brandon Lockridge rookie the other day. Hey, just saying.
I need to get my hands on that one.
All right, Caleb, enjoy the rest of your winter. Things are going to heat up here shortly. We'll see you in Arizona. All right.
Yep. Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, Caleb Durbin on the guest hotline, powered by Gruber Law. One call, that's all. Good dude. Take the next step. You never know, man.
You never know.
Little Mighty Mouse. I didn't want to put that on.
That's
that's what we were calling him.
When they were calling him like the little engine that could last year. I was like, come on, give him a little bit of a bump.
I don't know if that would offend him or not.
We need to call him like the Great Khali next year or something. Just Andre the Giant.
Goliath.
Yeah, Goliath. I like it. Yes.
Yeah, like calling a fat guy Slim.
yeah, right.
Just go the opposite.
Call me Slim.
There's Tommy Wirtz, Tim Allen, Hot Stove Weekly, live here on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. If you guys want to jump in here, we've got a couple of minutes. We'll read some text messages on the Nicolay Law Talk and Text line, 414-677-1250. That's 414-677-1250. We'll be right back. Final couple of minutes here on Hot Stove Weekly. Tim Allen, Tommy Wirtz, and talking Brewers baseball. Man, this show, we're almost done. 2 hours went by. 2 hours just went by.
I know. It's crazy.
Wow. It is. Okay, so I'm getting used to this video thing.
Right.
I don't know if people are interested.
That's crazy you brought it up, because at this one moment you kind of shuffled off the other way. So I got you back now. We're good. But I mean, it's like you just knew right there.
Oh man, this ought to get interesting.
Yeah, we'll get it. We'll figure.
I'll have props and I'll show you some old things.
We need to get you like a background drop of like just ever changing stuff. We'll put you in
Vegas
all different
casinos.
Yeah, all right, we can do that. We'll just send.
Yes.
Where in the world is Tim Allen talking about the Brewers?
There we go.
Yeah,
Where's Waldo?
Yes.
Yeah, Nicolay Law talking text line. For those of you that want to follow along and text in the show throughout the hot stove season, or once the season fires up, the 26 championship season, put it in your contacts as the fan or post game.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to label it. That number is 414-677-1250. That's 414-677-1250. Nicolay Law talk and text line, which is where we find our first caller in this new scheme of things here. Yeah, new era of post-game coverage, pre and post-game coverage.
Yeah.
We welcome in Beer Count Kenny, and I have a feeling we're going to hear the crack of a beer opening.
Well, we're going to do more than one. We're going to do two quick ones because I know we're up against time. But this first one, Timmy, is for the show moving over back to the old flagship.
Nice.
And the second one is for you and Tommy running the whole deal. This is going to be outstanding.
Can't wait, Kenny.
Yeah, it's going to be outstanding. I'll tell you what, the Quinn Priester and the Caleb Durbin interviews, outstanding. You got to have Jack on more. His insight was outstanding.
Mm-hmm.
The nuances that he picks up on and the things that he says, wow, that's incredible. Yeah. And having Tommy with you, Tommy's one of these same type of guys that finds these little intricacies about what's going on with the Brewers and how they handle things. This is going to be fabulous. And when you mentioned about where the show's going to go and where it's going to do, you never know. We had some fun a few years ago taking a show on the road. Hopefully that'll be an opportunity this year for all of
we'll be out and about. Tommy, right? I mean, we can
Absolutely.
safely say we're going to be out and about.
I can't wait. I think way more than last year. Way more.
Yep.
Well, and like I say, I'm hoping that my entity can be a part of that, like we were initially, Tim, and we're looking for bigger things with the coming 2026 championship season.
Yes.
So it's going to be very, very exciting.
Love it.
I've always been honored to be a part of the show, and I hope that we can move things forward in a direction that are going to be great for all the listeners, Brewer fans everywhere that listen around the world.
And along the network.
Yeah.
Love it. Ken, we're going to move on. We got one more thing. Johnny, thanks for the call. Ken, one more thing, Johnny, real quick.
You got 30 seconds. Yeah, go.
Hey, I'm at Dragon Link down at Pato.
I'll see you there, and I'll see you there in 20 minutes. That's where I'm headed.
I love it. Hey, I'm so excited for all the callers. You guys, it's going to be a great year. Real quick, Tommy, we're so glad to have you aboard. I'm going to dust off my pinball wizard tonight, and I'm going to crank up the Who. Let's go, Brew.
There you go. Thank you, Johnny.
Awesome.
All right, we're going to have to check out here. We appreciate you guys tuning in each and every Wednesday, 5 to 7. It's Hot Stove Weekly live here in the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. For Tommy Wirtz, my name is Tim Allen. Have a great week, and we will see him next week at 5, correct?
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. And remember, as always, smile, Wisconsin. Bob Uecker is smiling back.